IV glutathione has never been approved by any country in the world.
Lovely.
Right? Because the thing is, it doesn't work. It just does not work. And for the delivery of the glutathione completely intact through your skin into the blood cells immediately upon contact. So that's the technology that we have. As you said earlier, it doesn't need to get broken down into anything. It gets absorbed straight up.
Ben Esra Çavuşoğlu. 18 yıldır ayık bir hayat yaşıyorum. Bağımlılık hastalığıyla mücadelem, beni beden ve zihin performansımı iyileştirmek, hayat kalitemi arttırmak, daha sağlıklı ve uzun yaşamak için yeni yöntemler, cihazlar ve takviye ürünler araştırmaya yönlendirdi. Bağımlılık hastalığı, biohacking ve longevity alanlarındaki kendi deneyimlerimden dünyadaki son gelişmelere, çığır açan girişimcilerden uzman akademisyenlere, yıllardır yaptığım sohbetler artık her hafta Ayık Kafa podcast'te. Welcome to another episode of Ayık Kafa, which is Soberhead. And my guest today is Nayan Patel. And we're going to talk about glutathione. The reason I wanted to invite him to my podcast is for many reasons, actually, multiple reasons. Which one, I started using his product maybe by September. And I was lucky enough to meet him at the conference of A4M in December. And just before that, my glutathione level was measured. And like it was promised, it was over 1,000. So I think that's a good level, I guess you're going to tell me. But more than that, the reason that I want to talk to him as an expert in glutathione, well-respected in that field, well-respected pharmacist, since I'm back to Turkey, because I didn't hear this too much when I was in the United States. I moved back maybe about like 2 years ago. And there's this crazy use of glutathione IVs. I mean, it's just like as if it's a remedy to everything. You got flu, let's give you glutathione. COVID, glutathione. Like they're like almost became a secondary income to these clinics, doctors, and there's this, I hear it so much. On top of it, like my mom had a problem with her veins because this whole glutathione thing, not because of the glutathione, but like, hey, come again next week, one more time, too many IV treatments is really not healthy at the end of the day for your veins. I'm not saying for the take in the glutathione. So I learned so many things from Nayan because the way that he explains what is glutathione, what do you do to really ingest it, I'm almost going to say. But, I'm going to be asking you, so welcome. Please share with my audience, how did you come up with glutathione? I know you're a pharmacist, but apparently you guys come up with some chemical combinations to make special remedies to your clients.
Thank you for having me today here. It's my pleasure to be here and try to educate people, not just in the United States, but around the globe, because as you just mentioned, glutathione is by far the number one product used around the whole world by a lot of people. Either they're injecting them or they're taking some capsules or whatever dosage forms are out there in the hope that they're going to feel better and get better. And I want to make sure that I can talk from a scientific way on how we have worked together for last 20 plus years to create something that is absolutely unique. So my background as a pharmacist, clinical pharmacy practice in California for the last 27 plus years. But my focus has always been on research and development because all the medication in the world was not solving any problems. Only thing that we were doing was maintaining the problem, but not getting rid of the problems. And so I was always on a quest of trying to find out solutions and products that can help us get rid of the problems and not just maintain the problem. And so my quest led me to glutathione as the only molecule that is produced by humans in the most abundant fashion. And I want to make sure that there's a way I can deliver to the body. So hence my passion to work on glutathione. And by the way, in the United States, we were the largest producer of intravenous IV glutathione for over 20 years. And we shut the whole thing down when all my patents got approved for the topical version of the glutathione, because that was by far the the fastest and the most efficient way to improve intracellular glutathione levels that nobody else can do it. So,
couple of years ago, when I was still in the United States, there were kind of, these liposomal glutathione started being manufactured. And I have a very dear friend, also my mentor, Dr. Susan Blank, which I had her twice to my program. Back then, when we were chatting with her, when I said, what, shall I take some glutathione? And she wasn't really a huge fan of it. Not that it was going to hurt me, but he says, you're not going to get the levels, it's not going to work. So she was saying that, taking glutathione as a pill is not going to do much of anything. So that back then I closed that chapter. I never touched a glutathione in my life up until I listened to a podcast of yours. I think it was with Dave Asprey.
Yep.
And I said, okay. It seems like now they came up with a way to have that daily instead of an IV. So that's how I ordered, and you knew it by my name when I came to the conference. But let's start with what is glutathione? Why do we need it in our body?
Glutathione is one of the simplest peptides that our body produces in the most abundant fashion. That means it's the most abundant molecule produced in humans. It's a small peptide, and it's been known for its role in the body. It has two primary roles. The first role is to neutralize reactive species in our body. That means we're exposed to oxygen all the time, and the oxygen is a very reactive product in our body. It can cause so much damage. Our body always stays in the oxidative stress state at all time because of the oxygen that we consume, which is okay. But then once a job is done, we got to neutralize that part. That's where one of the properties of glutathione comes in as an antioxidant by neutralizing all those reactive species that we have either from sunlight, from pollution, or from breathing just oxygen every single day. So that's one function, which is by far the most important thing. The second thing that we don't talk about a whole lot, because it's not just the only glutathione, but there's a lot of components work together, is to detoxify and eliminate all the toxins that we're exposed to. So we drink water, we eat food, we inhale chemicals, and we're exposed to so much different things. We slap on some cosmetic products which are not natural and made from synthetic chemicals. All these chemicals that we ingest every single day, your liver has to get rid of it. And so liver needs so much glutathione on a regular basis to basically bind them to all these chemicals and then get out of the system. So those conjugation pathways needs to be activated to make sure that all these chemicals gets out of the system as fast as possible without getting dislodged into your fat cells, in your body, in your kidneys, in your organs, where over time it can cause damage. So that, to me, is by far the most important role that glutathione plays, is to help detoxify and help your liver function normally or better at all times.
So you said that it's not much spoken. I spoke with you a little bit about the liver back in December. So how does it work? You say that it just attached to that toxic whatever we're ingesting and then take it through the liver?
So liver cleans up every single thing in your whole body. So liver accumulates all this known chemicals, and then what it does is that some of the chemicals are water soluble, and so you just dump it in the kidneys and you just pee it out. And most of the chemicals are fat soluble. That means it gets stuck inside your body in all your fat cells. What happens is that when you're young, you can lose weight really easily. And you start getting old after 30, 35. The little fat has all this chemical stuck into there, and you're very, very hard to lose the weight. So over time, you get bigger and bigger and more fat cells. And what you're doing is you are basically accumulating all these toxic chemicals that is getting stuck into that area. So what liver needs glutathione to basically bind to those chemicals, attach to them, and make them water soluble. If it becomes water soluble, you can literally pee it out. So when people use the glutathione topical versions, guess what? They always tell me, oh, my urine smells a little bit different. My poop is getting very smelly at this point. And says, that's okay, that's normal. It'll probably happen for another 7 to 10 days, and they will start getting better after that time, because initially it's going to dump a lot of toxins out of the body and get rid of it.
Obviously, we're born with it. Does it
Yes.
get less, or we produce it less over time when we get older?
Well, there's more than two things you need to produce glutathione, but there are three chemicals, three amino acids comes together, requires an ATP energy source to produce the first part, and NAD to make everything together. So NAD is a very, very crucial. But going back to the body's production of glutathione, I mean, if you have the three amino acids, the two enzymes, ATP, NAD, if you have everything, your body can keep on producing glutathione all the time. What happens that around about the age of 30 is it's again, this arbitrary. In other countries could be 25, in some countries could be 40. It doesn't really matter, but it's about 30. What happens is that your need for glutathione is far more than what your body can produce. So there's a mismatch, right? Your needs are over here, but your body can only produce so much. When the gap starts increasing as we age, and the body cannot produce enough glutathione, all of a sudden, all this toxic overload is now getting stuck in your body. That's when the onset of diseases comes into play. All the different problems, ailments in your body starts happening after the age of 30, 35 is because the body is not able to keep up with the demand that it has to produce more glutathione. Again, also the amino acids are reduced from your diet. The enzyme that is necessary to produce the glutathione is also slowly decreases. It just, even if it's a 1 or 2% per year, it still makes the gap bigger and bigger and bigger as we age. And so the issue we have is the body cannot keep up with the demand of glutathione that we need.
So basically, it's glycine, cysteine, and glutamine.
Yes.
3 amino acids becoming a protein. If we take these supplements regularly, can we not produce enough glutathione?
Yes, you can. Well, you don't have to take all 3 of them. If you just take cysteine by itself, that should be more than sufficient to produce the glutathione. But again, as you age, the enzymes are reducing a little bit. So yes, you can produce it, but not to the highest level. But keep in mind, for the last 15 years now, what we have is now we can test people's genetic mutations. And if somebody has the gene SNPs that where they cannot produce glutathione or produce the enzymes, guess what? You can give all the amino acids in the world, but they will not be able to make glutathione out of it. And what we are finding out is people have this GSTM1, GSTM2 gene SNPs, COMT, NAT, SOD. All these different gene SNPs that they have are not helping us to detoxify our body, where the glutathione can play an important role in doing so. So even though you may not be born with the gene mutation, over time, if you develop the gene mutations or express the gene mutations, all of a sudden, your body cannot produce glutathione from the cysteine that you take. And so I'm doing more research on it right now as we speak, and those numbers are staggering as to how many people in the United States right now have these gene mutations where they cannot produce glutathione at all.
That's an interesting point. So because you had a history of doing the IV glutathione, and I keep hearing in Turkey, many people are doing it. So what's the difference? Because it's a big of a high dose they do through the IV.
Yes. IVs, you can give a very high dose of IVs because guess what? It doesn't enter into your blood cells at all. So you're infusing them, you're infusing into the veins, but guess what? It only stays in the plasma. It never enters the blood cells, ever. So if it stays in the plasma, it goes to the kidney filters everything out. And there was a study done in 1991 in the United States, and where they found out was that after infusing 2 grams of intravenous glutathione, they saw a 300-fold increase of glutathione in the urine within 15 minutes. Everything was just getting dumped into the urine within 15 minutes. What they did see was a tenfold increase of cysteine in the blood. So cysteine was actually being used to produce glutathione. So there's some effect of intravenous glutathione, but not because it is absorbing it. It's because the body breaks it down and the cysteine gets reabsorbed and is used to produce glutathione again. So, I mean, if you really want to see the benefit, guess what? Instead of injecting glutathione, just inject cysteine by itself. As long as you don't have gene mutations or one of the gene SNPs, your body might be able to produce enough glutathione to sustain it, but it is never going to go overboard. The key is, let's see if you're 40. If you're 40 or above, there's such a big gap. And if you get the glutathione levels to here, there's still going to be a gap. What you really need is glutathione level to be here. So then this load comes down. When the load comes down, that's when the benefits happening. With not taking enough glutathione, you're always going to play a catch-up. And if you're not going to be able to produce enough glutathione, you're not going to see the full benefit of having glutathione raise above what your body needs so that all the toxic load is completely reduced from your body.
But I don't understand. This information was not known so that people kept doing the IV and still do. That's why I wanted to do the show with you, because to educate people.
IV glutathione has never been approved by any country in the world, right, as a drug.
Lovely.
Right? Because the thing is, it doesn't work. It just does not work. And it doesn't work in the sense that people think it should work. And so when I first discovered the topical version of glutathione in 2007, I started getting a lot of reactions when I started giving to my patients. And so I had to literally spend 13 years of my life researching how much to give, how often to give, what to give it for, all those different things. It took me 13 years of full research to figure out what to do, how to give, what kind of results am I going to get before I even launched the product to the open public in 2020. So it was a long time waiting. And until all this time, I was still making the intravenous form of glutathione because that's what the doctors in the United States were asking for it. But now I'm converting every doctor in the United States to switch over to the topical version because the results are better. It's easier, it's convenient, it's cheaper than doing IV therapy for the same results you get, or even better results than you can get from IVs.
Let me ask you then, before coming to your product, there are also liposomal glutathione in the market. Good brands, very well respected brands. That also works the same way like the IV?
So exactly. So that study was done in University of Texas in 2011. According to that study, what they found out was when you take the liposomal glutathione, your body breaks it down. They saw increase of all the 3 amino acids in the bloodstream within hours. So the body was breaking down all those amino acids and increasing the cysteine, glutamine, glycine in your blood. Using those 3 chemicals, it was basically getting those absorption again. So that's what we saw in the clinical trials. So liposome forms, again, it works, right? No doubt it doesn't work. It does work. But if you have those gene mutation, the body will break it down, but we will not be able to reconstruct again. So that is the nuances that we are seeing today in 2024 that we did not have in 2007, right? Because gene testings back then was like $5,000 for one test. Now it's cheap, so people are doing it all the time and they're finding these things out. I said, hey, how come I'm aging so fast? Why am I having all these diseases? What my friends doesn't have nothing. What they're seeing is that the phase 1, phase 2 detoxification pathways in your body, in your liver, is broken down. You have all these gene mutations. Your body is not able to detoxify.
So what happens if a person never takes a glutathione supplement or anything which will make it produced by the body? Does it keep going down and down the levels, and then at some point you are left with a very little?
Your body can only produce so much. If your needs are very high, it's going to use up right away. And if it gets used up right away, the body doesn't keep on producing more and more because your body needs more. Because keep in mind, you have few amino acids in your body, and it has to make thousands of different peptides. Glutathione is just one of them, right? If you just keep on using all your energy to produce just one molecule, the body shuts down. The body has to produce so many different peptides. So the amino acids are used to make glutathiones and all those different peptides that your body needs. And so it kind of uses a rationing as to how much it can produce every single day. And so if it gets used up right away, like within minutes, now for the rest of the day, you have nothing left. Having a supplementation makes it very, very important for people that have high needs. Again, so that's why I said, until the age of 30, you're more than likely you're able to produce enough to make sure that body's needs are met. But after that time, the levels starts getting lower and lower and lower because your needs are much, much higher. And when the needs are higher and the body cannot produce it, that's when the difference comes in. And so the supplementation is going to be necessary for a long time.
Any food or physical activities to produce more than it regularly does?
So excessive physical activity actually uses up a lot of glutathione. So a lot of my athletes, my football players, all those people, they're Olympic athletes, they all take glutathione after workout because the working out reduces the glutathione levels really, really fast. And so they use that part. But there are foods out there. Absolutely, there are foods out there. So the one thing you want to make sure is that any food that have a lot of cysteine in there, you should consume that. So avocados, asparagus, whey protein, nuts, like Brazil nuts in particular. So all these products will increase the glutathione levels by giving you cysteine molecule. Your body is abundant of glutamine or glutamic acid. And so supplementation of that amino acid may not be as fruitful or as beneficial. But cysteine is great. Sometimes people may need glycine. So if you take glycine and cysteine-rich food, and again, nowadays, I mean, you can just put in your favorite search engines on the web. I say cysteine-rich foods, and you get a whole list, and you can pick and choose what you want. You know, I don't eat oysters, but hey, oyster seems to have cysteine as well. So
that's great. Now let's talk a little bit about your product because that's why we're here. I have it. As I said, I've been using it. It seems like there's two different strengths, but please explain first why your product is different. Because what I know is it is glutathione. It is absorbed by your skin as glutathione, then becomes a glutathione in your body. It doesn't need to have any type of a conversion from one thing to the other to become a glutathione. Oh, how many times I said that word.
Absolutely. So the difference is there is two technologies that are built into the product. One was the glutathione molecule has a sulfur group on there, which is the thiol group. It has a sulfur odor to it. Like that particular group is very reactive to the environment and water and things like that. So it gets broken out really, really fast. So I had to put a chemical cap on it so that it doesn't get broken down in the water or in the air when it comes in contact. So that was my first technology that I did. I put a chemical cap on it so you can still smell like sulfur, but doesn't get broken down at all. The second part, which is the most important part, was how can I get this glutathione molecule twisted, kind of compress it down a little bit. If I can compress it down, it can get through your skin, right? So that compression was, we had to, since it's a peptide, we had to twist it. We cannot just squeeze it. We had to twist it out into small beads. It can get through your skin. So that's why we have, right now, we have been issued 7 patents in the United States and around the world for the delivery of the glutathione completely intact through your skin into the blood cells immediately upon contact. So that's the technology that we have. As you said earlier, it doesn't need to get broken down into anything. It gets absorbed straight up, right? So the body gets it and uses up immediately. So that way you don't have to wait until it gets broken down and have your body make it again for you.
I asked you when I saw you, it smells when you first put it on. And I didn't know the trick. So it was very sticky, but now I'm following your advice. Do rub my skin for 90 minutes, but then the smell goes away because with all the other liposomal or whatever you spray in your mouth, it's really a horrible taste when you really take glutathione in.
It is a really bad taste. And it's not for 90 minutes, it's only for 90 seconds.
Seconds, sorry. Yeah,
I just want to make sure people don't think it's, oh my God, apply for an hour and a half.
No.
It'd be crazy.
But it would be a good exercise.
No, it's not. It is a sticky, so the base that we use to twist the glutathione is a little tacky, is a little sticky. But if you rub it in for about 2 minutes or 1 to 2 minutes, it should dry up completely. And by that friction alone is actually getting into the skin right away. And so, yeah, the smell goes away, the stickiness goes away, and you can literally see the benefits of your body getting the glutathione within 15 minutes. So I have a lot of customers, they have these gene mutations where there's mental fog or the brain fog because of that. And if you have the gene mutations and the brain fog, applying glutathione, you can see the kind of fog just starting clearing up in like 15 minutes, right? And so that is very, very unique and different because that tells us that, first of all, glutathione is getting into the system, it is staying as glutathione, and is actually already working within 15 minutes.
How long it stays then in your system? If the other ones are you're like either peeing it out, or whichever way that you're using it, let's say.
So the most of the glutathione stays in the body for about 14 to 15 minutes, right? The one that we are using, we saw the full absorption to the peak to the trough it's about 4 to 6 hours. Now, keep in mind, we only did a 3-day trial. Only for 3 days, we saw about 4 to 6 hours it stays in the body. But half of the glutathione gets recycled. Half of the glutathione gets used up and you just pee it out. The other half gets recycled again. The body will recycle the glutathione. If I do that part, if I do my calculations, over 2 months, that 4 to 6 hours will stay up to 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So if you use it twice a day, you're pretty much getting a full 24-hour coverage in about 2 months.
So recycle like what? Explain a little bit more.
Absolutely. As I said earlier, glutathione has 2 different functions. One is to neutralize the reactive oxygen species, and the one is to conjugate toxins and get rid of it. The conjugation of the toxins and getting rid of it, the glutathione also gets rid of it itself. When it neutralizes the reactive species, it becomes a dormant oxidized glutathione with another energy source like vitamin C or sunlight or vitamin E. This oxidized glutathione can become reduced again and used up again over and over and over again. So it's good to have this recycling mechanism built in our body. That way you can get away with using less dose of glutathione on a daily basis and don't have to take a big dose all the time.
Is there a specific time that you prefer your clients to use it? Like, because, as I said, I'm using it. So I'm like, sometimes, shall I use it after the workout, before the workout? Will it give me energy? Oh, like all these, as you can imagine, I have so many products, supplements, machines, anything and everything. Now I'm trying to figure out when is the best time to use them.
Absolutely. So most of the people, they don't have access to your machines. They use it twice a day, morning and evening. It doesn't really matter when. I have some of the machines that you're talking about. So if you're working out, you have to do it after the workout, not before. If you have a hyperbaric chamber, then you do it after you go in the chamber, not before. If you do cold plunging, you do after that cold plunging, not before. Whatever you do, exercise or cold plunging or biochargers or hyperbaric chambers or whatever, or red light therapy or whatever, what you're doing is you're putting your body under stress. The stress is good for you because the body becomes stronger and stronger the more stress you put in the body, right? But after the stress you put into the body, you use glutathione to reduce the stress down, because while you're exercising, the body is getting stronger and stronger. But after you're done exercising, you got to neutralize all those excess oxygen species, because that, if you cannot neutralize that part, it's causing damage to the body. So all my athletes, they always use after the workout. Always.
I'm doing the right thing, it seems like.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the two? Because I'm going to add your link and hopefully I'm going to be wanting to carry as an affiliate in my website. But there are two strengths.
Absolutely.
One is plus and the other one is regular. What's the difference?
So the plus is just a stronger version of glutathione, is 1.75 times stronger than the regular version. So keep in mind, more is not better.
Good to know.
Yes.
For me, that's good to know.
Yeah. You just need the right amount. And most of the people are absolutely okay with the regular version. I would say all the people are okay with the regular version. People, they may need the plus version, the stronger version, if they have an immediate need of, if they're exposed to a lot of toxins, or they have some autoimmune conditions, or they're using as, if they're going to chemotherapy or radiation therapy, that they need to bring the oxidative stress down like really, really fast. They need the plus version for temporarily. And then after 3 or 4 months, once everything is upside down, you move over to the regular version for maintenance. So the regular version is going to be used all the time. Plus is just used initially to get rid of the problems that you have right now, and then switch over to the regular version. Now, I have a lot of patients that these are billionaires and too much money that they can ever spend in the whole life. And they always think, oh, more is better. So they buy the more expensive product, the plus version, and they're fine sometimes. And after a while, they get a rash. And it says, the comment says, hey, I got a rash. I said, well, I told you, it's not good to have too much glutathione either. So if you get a rash after like 3 or 4 months of using it, that means your body is saturated now. You don't need the plus version. Go to the regular, and that's fine enough. But all my athletes, my competing athletes, they work out a lot. They need the plus versions after workout all the time because the recovery is so much faster. Yeah.
So what else happens if you overload yourself with glutathione?
Well,
besides a rash,
it's just a rash. It's just a rash. It just gives you a signal that, hey, you're having too much glutathione, so just cut back. So just have to cut back, and it only takes 1 day. So to cut back on 1 day, the next day you're back to normal and start using a little bit lesser dose, and you're fine.
What are the illnesses that one can support while doing a treatment and extra glutathione, Nayan?
So most of the time, so there are some metabolic disorders like diabetes, type 2 diabetes especially, another type 1. But type 1 is you can use the plus all the time, but it's just going to help you a lot to get rid of the toxins, but it's not going to help for the diabetes itself, unfortunately. But for the type 2, if I can get rid of all the toxins out of the systems and your liver gets all cleaned up, your sugar levels will start dropping as well. So your body becomes more receptive and more functional. So you can reduce the number of medications you take as well. So diabetes, if you have high triglycerides, people eat a lot of fried foods and junk foods and things like that. They have a lot of triglycerides that are pretty high. People with autoimmune conditions like arthritis or folliculitis or skin diseases or psoriasis and things like that, fibromyalgias, lupus. So all those autoimmune conditions, their needs are going to be very high initially because the body's immune response is so high, the body cannot think, right? So it needs to give the ammunitions to the body so it can get rid of the toxins. And once it do that part, the immune comes back down to normal. So you don't have all these reactions happening. People also use the plus versions if they're going through chemotherapy. Of course, they work with an oncologist on a regular basis. And the oncologists are prescribing them to use the plus versions while on the chemo. Especially with the cisplatin chemotherapy, they need to have glutathione to bind and get rid of it all the time. And so having those therapies available to your oncologist is very critical because they'll decide what to do at times.
This is like, the more I listen to you, actually, it's an amazing thing that you did. And luckily you got all the patents because it seems like it's a much faster way, direct way to receive glutathione from outside. And if it is needed for these illnesses, or if your immune system is not strong enough,
Yes.
You don't want to constantly go to have an IV. You don't know if from the pill form you're going to get it or not. That's why probably you waited for so long until you got the patent so that people wouldn't kind of figure out how to manufacture themselves.
It wasn't. I was waiting for the patents. I was doing my research first. That took a long time. And so they were not issuing the patents until my research was over anyways, because I applied for the patent applications back in 2010. It was a long time ago. And they were ready to issue it. Hey, but my research is not done yet, so I need to do more research. So they keep asking me more and more questions. So it took me a while. I finished writing my book, The Glutathione Revolution, as well, in the same time, because whatever I was learning, I was putting in a book. So I said, when the product was ready, my patents was ready, my book was ready, everything came in the same kind of within 1 year, everything was approved. Yeah.
You also have some skin product, which I don't use because our dear friend Amitai, I'm using his products, the Young Goose product.
Okay.
But also, I want to learn a little bit about what glutathione can do for the skin.
Oh boy. So that's a big question, because skin is an organ. So it's the largest organ in your body. It's the only organ that is exposed to the environment directly and is getting taxed all the time. It's getting beat up every single day, right? The nourishment from the skin doesn't come from outside. It comes from inside. So the key is, can we get the nutrients that your body or your skin needs from the inside? So when it goes inside, like if these are the layers of your skin, right? If it goes inside and then come up from over here, it is the best way to literally clean up your skin as an organ.
Okay. It's not just like a cream. It's also detoxifying the skin in a way.
And with the technology that I have, guess what I did? I took all the known materials that we know that are good for your skin. I shrunk them into small packages and put everything into like 2 or 3 different products. Everything.
I was just joking. I didn't know up until very recently that you had a skin product. So when I was doing my research about your product, for some reason, I didn't know about it. But can you use straight up the molecule, or it needs to be mixed with some other stuff?
No, so what we have done is we have 2 serums right now, which is the vitamin C serum and the glutathione serum. You put the serum on the face because that's the most potent molecule that we have to basically have immediate results. And then what we did was we put a moisturizing cream on top of it, on top of the serums. And the moisturizing creams have all the other support systems. So, like, for example, the morning cream, after you put the vitamin C serum, you get a little bit of carnosine, a little bit of DMAE, a little bit of CoQ10, all the support system to basically energize your cells from inside, right? And energize all your cells. So the results are pretty dramatic. I mean, if you look at a skincare line, it's a promise that they've been trying to give you that, hey, if you use my product, you're going to look beautiful. I said, no, you're beautiful because you are beautiful. The skincare doesn't make you beautiful. Makeup might make you beautiful because it just gives you a fake look on it. You need to make sure the skin is healthy, right? So the chemicals that we use is to make the skin healthier, and a healthy skin can only be healthy if it's out of all the debris. Right? The skin cells die. When the skin cells die, you get rid of it. You put a washcloth on your face to get rid of all the dead cells. But how about if it's inside? Your body has to literally get rid of it. And so that's what we do in the morning. In the evening is even more crazier. So the evening we use the glutathione serum, and then on top of it we put resveratrol and cycloestrogenol, which is the known DNA repair to increase the telomeres. We use the same technology to get all these different chemicals into one product. So we have a morning serum and moisturizer, evening serum and moisturizer, and you use all 4 products together. And honestly, 1 month is all you need to see a visible difference. So don't see any of your friends for 1 month. Use the product and then go meet your friends and let them tell you, whoa, what did you do differently? They will notice the difference.
Now you convinced me. So can I not use the spray serums that I have to my face?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So you can use the spray, but that's just one product. It's just glutathione. Just for the glutathione, you can use a spray. Absolutely no problem. In fact, if you have the skincare and the glutathione at the same time, we tell you that, okay, glutathione, use in the morning, and the G serum, which is the nighttime for the face, if you use that one, do not use a glutathione again as a spray in your body.
Okay. It's a skin. It goes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it goes both ways.
Unbelievable. The technology nowadays, and with you guys who are really spending your effort and time to find the best products. I had Amitai as my guest as well. Everything that we used to take orally, now you geniuses came up with the skin products to say like, hey, that's an organ as well. You cannot just use a moisturizer. You need to use the same products that you're intaking, digesting in as a pill form. You have to use it for your skin as well.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. The future of the whole cosmetic industry is going to change because innovators are coming with a solution that is going to make the skin healthier. And healthy skin glows. Healthy skin doesn't wrinkle. Healthy skin has the pinkish hue in there, doesn't look pale. That's why when you take a chemotherapy, your skin gets all lathery, very tight and really lathery because it takes all the juice out of it, right? Once you put all the juice back in the skin, it just glows.
Which countries are you in with your products?
Right now, we are only selling in the United States at this point. We have paid customers in other parts of the world as well. But right now, we are only selling in the United States as through this company. And everywhere else, we are just doing it slowly. We're trying to figure out how to get to various countries right now.
And you're able to ship probably to other countries, though, the countries that allows it.
We can ship into countries. It's just too expensive to ship from the United States to other parts of the world. That is getting a little trickier for us. Yeah.
You answered to all my questions. My whole reason to have an interview with you for people to really understand, not to go do things that are not going to be helpful. With the technology, with new inventions, there are ways to really receive what they really should. And glutathione is one of them, because I see around me that 1 of every 5 person is kind of going and having a glutathione IV. Since I knew from you that is really like it's going to be helpful, but not that much, I really wanted to have this podcast with you. Thank you very much, Nayan. And I'm going to be adding your domain to the show notes. And hopefully I will add you to my website as well.
No, thank you very much for having me today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.